One of my favorite videos of the year to make. This is the worst watches of 2022. So we're gonna take a look at about 10 watches in this video. Lots of bad watches, not only from my opinion, but a lot of the comments that I get in videos, people mentioning watches that they think are really bad. I have taken all of that into account and I've come up with a list of about 10 watches. So let's run the intro and get into number one. So number one on this list, and this list is in no particular order, I'm going to start with King Seiko. I think King Seiko, the regular line of King Seiko that came out this year, the dedicated line from Seiko as King Seiko, is one of the biggest fails from the brand this year, and that's because they put a 6-arm movement in a watch that deserves a much better movement. King Seiko meant it was a King Seiko, something a little bit better than a regular Seiko, and what they did here was just put a plain old Seiko movement inside. A lot of people didn't mind this. I did. I think that this deserves a better movement, and I've said this from the very beginning. For the price that they're charging, a 6R just doesn't cut it. And that's why I have it on my worst watches of 2022, at least from my perspective. The next watch on this list is the Timex Waterbury Ocean Collection. This is a watch that is made out of recycled materials. However, what they did with these recycled materials is terrible. This watch looks like a bar of soap. I said in the original video that I did for this watch that it looked like a bar of Irish Spring was carved into a watch, and I stand by that statement. It looks cheap and it looks weird, and I don't know why they went the route of a speckled case. I said this from the very beginning. This watch in general doesn't look good when compared to the rest of the Waterbury dive style watches that have come out from the brand this year. I think they hit it out of the park with a lot of the Waterbury collection this year, except for this watch. The design does not work and it's just kind of ugly. Yes, it does go to benefit ocean conservation. However, if they made the watch better looking, they would have sold more watches and would have done more for the ocean. I think Timex missed the mark on this watch, and that's why it's on the worst watches of 2022. Next on the list is a watch that I don't believe actually belongs on this list. However, so many people did not like this watch in the video that I did for it, I had to include it here on the worst watches of 2022. Of course, I am talking about the Gerard Parago Cascet re-release. This is a limited edition all black re-release of the original Cascet. They charged $4,500 for it. It is a digital watch that you need to press a button to see the time. It's a driver's watch, and that was the biggest complaint in the comment section of the video that I did for that watch. What's the point of a driver's watch that you actually need 2 hands to operate? I absolutely agree with that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. However, that is what this is, and I think it's a really cool watch from the 1980s that inspired some amazing watches today, specifically the MB&F HM5, a watch that I really love and hope to own one day. However, because of all the negative comments, I had to include this watch on the worst watches of 2022. The next 2 watches on this list are both from Rolex, and I have to say, no one asked for either one of these watches. Of course, I am talking about the Rolex Deepsea Challenge in 50 millimeters with an 11,000 meter depth rating in titanium, the first fully titanium watch that is a production model from Rolex. However, this is not what people were asking for, a 50 millimeter watch that goes 11,000 meters deep. It's a watch that no one will be able to wear unless you are the Hulk. It's a giant watch that no one was asking for. I did a video about this when it first came out, and I said that Rolex has made an Invicta, and I stand by that. And a lot of people agreed with me in the comments because it is a very large watch that literally no one was asking for. Speaking of watches that nobody asked for, of course, we have to include the GMT-master 2 with a green and black bezel, left-hand drive. a watch that absolutely no one was asking for. It's a very good looking watch, same functionality as the GMT-master, Pepsi, or Batman. However, it is a left-hand drive watch, and it's a little bit quirky. I think this is a really cool watch, but it got tons of negative comments in the video that I made for it, so that's why it's on this list as well, the worst watches of 2022. Now this list would not be complete if I did not mention the Moon Swatch. The Moon Swatch came out in 2022 to a lot of fanfare, and then immediately Swatch mishandled the release of this watch, and a lot of people got really mad. A lot of people waited online for this watch overnight, only to go home empty-handed. They were told that these would eventually be available online, and then of course Swatch turned their back on that idea, and now they will only be available in stores. This made a lot of people mad. Also, the price, $260. A lot of people very upset about that price. They think it's a little bit too high. This is basically a $130 watch, what they would normally charge for a bioceramic watch, at a $260 price. That's because of the Omega name. A lot of people did not like that, and of course, that's the reason why I put it on this list. Most of the comments in the videos that I have done for the Omega Moon Swatch have been negative. I think it's a great watch. I think it's a really good looking watch because it looks a lot like a Speedmaster. However, a lot of people are very upset about this watch and are not able to get it still to this day. And that's why I added it on the worst watches of 2022. The next watch on this list is another Seiko, and this is the re-release of the Seiko Laurel. And I don't think they did this watch justice at all. They gave it a very cluttered dial because of the movement that they chose to use, and of course they did not put a Hunter case back. They really missed the mark again with a re-release, and I am not very surprised. This is a limited edition and it's pretty expensive. The original just had small seconds. This has a date and a power reserve. It doesn't make any sense. I have no idea why they would go that route when they have the ability to make it a true re-release of the original Laurel, which was actually a very good looking watch, very straightforward. This is a cluttered dial and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what they decided to do, and that's why I have put it on my worst watches of 2022. So we are nearing the end of this list of the worst watches of 2022. However, we still have 3 watches to go through. I'll go a little bit quicker through these just to save some time. However, we're gonna start with the Tiffany & Co. Patek Philippe 5711. This is a watch that sold for around $39,000, and then immediately we started seeing these flipped on the market for millions of dollars. This is not that great of a watch that was selling for millions of dollars just because it has a Tiffany blue dial, signed Tiffany. This was an extreme money grab by both Tiffany and Patek Philippe. Obviously, they could sell this watch for a lot more money. They didn't, so that is admirable on their part, but I think it's a little bit cheesy, and I think a lot of other people did as well. Lots of people made videos about this. It's not the highest end watch in the world, and it definitely should not be selling for $6 million. It's just silly. A lot of negative comments came in for the videos that I did for it, so that's why I added it to this list. Next on the list is a Richard Mille. Now, I've never really added a Richard Mille to any list that I have ever done. This is the Up 01. This is their ultra thin watch that they came out with Ferrari on it. It makes no sense. It looked like a wafer. A lot of people made fun of this. A lot of people on Instagram cut out a piece of paper, put it on their wrist, and said that it was an RM. I think this is a really ugly watch. It's actually pretty large, very thin, and doesn't make a lot of sense. And they were charging an astronomical amount of money for it. Of course, these probably all sold out, but again, tons of negative comments about this watch that I got that were unsolicited through my YouTube channel, so I had to add it to this list. Just a funny watch, and of course, RM, not the best brand. A lot of people don't like them because of the amount of money that they charge for their watches, and of course, the aftermarket shenanigans that go on. So there you go, an RM on my worst watches of 2022. So last on this list is brick watches. A lot of people did videos about these watches. I actually did not. I really didn't care when they came out. I thought that they looked really bland and they were very expensive, so I just moved on. but a lot of people made videos on these watches, and I watched a lot of those videos and I read a lot of the comments, and I also checked out the watches for myself, and I of course agree that these are really overpriced watches that have mediocre specs to really actually bad specs for the price. So I have to agree with a lot of the videos and a lot of the people what they are saying. These are from the owner of Barstool Sports, so I think he's trying to just get away with doing something that is mediocre and make money doing it using his name. Now, this is not the first time this has been done. However, this has been a very public sort of flogging for him, and I think that eventually they're either going to have to revamp some of their watches or just keep on going and not listen to any of the critics. That could be what they do, and who knows? There are plenty of people out there looking for watches. You never know, these are probably selling. So that is my list. There is one more watch that I wanted to mention. That is the Genius Genta. They came out with new versions of their watch this year, new dials, slightly improved cases. Now the cases on these watches are half Royal Oak, half 5711, and all ugly. I've talked about them on my channel in the past. I think these are horrible watches. These are essentially replica watches or homage watches to the 5711 and the Royal Oak. You're getting a cut down the middle. It's not like a blended watch. It's a cut down the middle, and it's really abrupt. These are very weird looking watches. What they came out with is like a malachite dial and a few others. I still think it doesn't work. These are really terrible watches and definitely deserve to be on this list of worst watches of 2022. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think down in the comments below. Lots of watches on this list, way more than 10. I think I went through about 13 watches. So tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. I also want to know, are there any other watches that you would have added to this list? Please add a comment down below and tell me another watch that maybe I have missed here. I really want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. Happy New Year's, guys. This should be airing on New Year's Eve. Hopefully everyone has a happy and safe New Year's, and I'll catch you guys in 2023.